from RTO here. Hope you're all well. Welcome to Tuesday. That's a good album ranking to do today. A band that I discovered while preparing for another show. If you remember, I did some Mark Wilkinson artwork that was not related to Marillion, and I've come across this band called Glyder, and I thought, oh, looked at their little profile, thought, oh, these sound good, so I gave them a listen, and I thoroughly enjoyed them, and I thought I'd do a ranking on them. So Glyder they're a hard rock band from Ballyknocken in County Wicklow in the Republic of Ireland. They were formed in 2004 after a one-off gig, the Vibe for Philo in Dublin. They were originally called Hollywood. Now I tried to look for their stuff and I couldn't, so I thought I was going to add it into this, but they released an EP and it's nowhere to be found. I looked everywhere for it. So they changed their name and they convinced the producer Chris Generides, who has worked with Thin Lizzy, Black Sabbath, Judas Priest and Ozzy Osbourne, to record an album with them. So they've only released 4 albums. The current band, Jackie Robinson on vocals, Canane and Pete Fisher on guitars, Graham McClatchy on bass, and Des McAvoy on the drums. So we've got 4 albums to look at. Okay, this is quite an interesting ranking with the way that it happened. I didn't mean it to happen like this, but it just did. So coming in at number 4 is the debut album from 2006 called Glyder. This features Canane on guitar and vocals, Pete Fisher on guitar, Tony Cullen on vocals, and Davey Ryan on the drums. First track is called Colour of Money. It's a very good opener, got some nice riffs, but you can tell the influence of Thin Lizzy on this. Very good track though, very enjoyable. Pup, to be quite honest, this could almost be Thin Lizzy. It's that twin guitar and the bass and the vocal. It sounds too much like Thin Lizzy. She's got it. Nice double guitar work here, cracking solo, very good track. Saving Face. The opening riff of this song is absolutely at the top drawer. Then you've got more double guitar soloing and riffing, and a bass line that is really good. One for the Lost. What a great bass line this is. Drives this track. It's a little bit more different from the previous 4 tracks. It's not got that Thin Lizzy sound. It's got a sound, a little bit more of a different sound for them. Stargazer. Got nothing to do with Rainbow. It's just a song they call Stargazer. It's a little bit generic, I'm afraid. Nothing special about it. You Won't Bring Me Down. Nice driving riffs. Got a great sound, although it does sound, of course, like Thin Lizzy. Taking Off. Nah, it's not the best track. I think they were just experimenting with sounds and guitars, and it doesn't sound right. Dance or Die though is very good. Best track on the album. It's a cross between Thunder and Thin Lizzy, but a really good track. Neutral Coloured Life. Some of these riffs are very rip-off. It's very much like The Boys Are Back in Town. It's a little bit too close to The Boys Are Back in Town. Okay, not a bad debut album. I think they were still trying to find their identity and sound, but a lot of this album sounds too much like a Thin Lizzy album. But doesn't mean it's a bad album. It's a very pleasant album to listen to. So I'll give it an RTO ranking of 7 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 3, their second album, released in 2008, Playground for Life. Again, this features Tony Cullen, Bat Kilnane, Pete Fisher, Davey Ryan. Guest keyboards by the producer on this, Chris Tangerese, and also some slide guitar and keyboards by Alwyn Walker. First track, Gambler's Blues. Really good track, got a driving bass line. They're starting to work out what they want to do musically, and this is nothing like a Thin Lizzy track. It's a proper just rock track. Great stuff. Sweets. Okay, this still sounds a little bit like Thin Lizzy, but it's more of an influence than trying to sound like Thin Lizzy, if you get what I mean. Pretty good track. Puppet Queen. Very good track. Catchy lines, different timings in the drums, all works well together. Great track. Title track, Playground for Life. Love this track. So nice little gentle start, and then we go into a good old-fashioned rocker, belting guitar solos. Again, they're trying to find that identity. For your skin, nice little slow rocker here. Really good bass line. Unfortunately, the vocal is a little bit off kilter. There's some notes. The slower it gets, whoever sang this, because I'm not quite sure, because there's 3 of them sing, they sort of get a bit flat. But it's a very good tune. Walking on My Own Ground. It's loosely based around Thin Lizzy. They still haven't got rid of the Thin Lizzy sound. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the Thin Lizzy sound, but if you want to make it, you can't go down as, oh, you sound like Thin Lizzy. But it's not a bad track. I don't dislike the track. I mean, I love Thin Lizzy, as you know, so I'm going to love anything that sounds like that. Dark Meets Light. It sounds too much like Phil Lynott. Oh dear. But it's a good track. Sleeping Good. Quite mellow. Nice guitar. Very funky in places. But there's some keyboards in this, and it certainly works, and it lifts the track. So it's a very good track. Over and Over. I just love tracks that start with that heavy bass line. I love the bass guitar. I think it sets the mood for songs straight away. And then everyone else comes in, and it's a very, very heavy track. The Merry-Go-Round has got a very, very 70s rock feel to it, with the keyboards. It's sort of Uriah Heep, deep purpley in places. Very good track. Okay, for this album, it's far better than the first one, although the first one isn't bad. They're starting to find an identity. It's still got tones of Thin Lizzy, but they are starting to move away from it, and it's more in their own style than the previous album. And I give it an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10. Okay then, coming in at number 2, the third album. 2010's Yesterday, Today and Tomorrow. We've got still the same lineup. Bat, Pete, Tony and Davey. Tracks on the air are really good. They're starting to totally move away from Thin Lizzy and getting their identity on this. That line, really good track. Good way to announce that we're not going to sound like Thin Lizzy anymore. Got some great individual riffs. A little bit of keyboard work in there. Not too much, but it sort of adds to the track. Really good opener. Then we got a track, which is my favourite track on this album. It's called Knockout, and it's all about the rumble in the jungle in 1974 in Zaire between George Foreman and Muhammad Ali. And what makes this song really good, it's a great rocker, but they use little bits from the actual fight, you know, the radio thing, gives it such atmosphere. It's a fantastic track, very well thought idea and very well executed. Jack Strong, really good strong track this is. Great riffs, the vocals are really strong. They're starting to get that identity, and that's an absolute brilliant track. Innocent Eyes, the drums are great, thumping bass, which keeps this song going nicely along, and the interplay between both the guitars is fantastic. Solid track. Make a Change. This one actually sounds a bit like Queens of the Stone Age, No One Knows. Very similar riff. So they've stopped ripping off Thin Lizzy, they've gone to Queens of the Stone Age now. Joking apart, it is a pretty good track. Back to Water, probably the weakest track on the album. I just don't get that one. It's all about being strong, and I think it's a little bit political in places. Not for me. The Bitter End, great track. It's got a bit of a Thin Lizzy feel to it, but you can't say, oh, that sounds more like Thin Lizzy. Very good track though. One of Us, great. The rich drums on this are fantastic, and you get this little tapping on the side of the drums as well that's very, very clear. Excellent track. Always a Loser. A little bit of boogie rock here, a bit of shuffle. Great little track. I like boogie shuffle songs. Title track, Yesterday, Today and Tomorrow. Slow track, nice tempo. Very, very good track. Time to Fly. Great little rock track. Got some nice keyboards in this. It gives gives it more atmosphere. They're not prominent, but they're there. You can hear them. All You've Done, good solid track. This is again the tempo, different tempos within the song. The drums keep it together, fantastic. Then we end up with a little instrumental track called Elvis Town. Very eerie and atmospheric. It's got like a background on it. I'd say it's like Enya meets a rock band. Okay, Glyder seem to be getting better and better as they put out more albums. This is a pretty solid album. Up till then it was the best album, without a doubt. And I give it an RTO ranking of 8.5. Okay, my number one. Now, before they released this, they had a bit of a change of personnel in the band. I don't know what happened. I tried to look, but there's not much about it, so I don't know if there was a big breakup, because between the albums they sort of went on hiatus. There's not much information on this band that I can dive into. So they got back together in 2011, and this is their most current album, Backroads to Byzantium. This actually features Bat Kane, Pete Fisher on guitars, Jackie Robinson on the vocals, Graham McCratchy on bass, and Des McAvoy on drums. This is a very good album. Chronicle Deceit. You can tell the change in personnel on this. The drums seem a little heavier and more crisper. The bass sounds totally different, and it's a really good opening track. Long Gone. Great track. Heavy, very heavy, and the vocals are very strong. Very, very strong vocals. Fade to Dust. Again, great track. great guitar work, great interplay. It's got that little bit of that thin lizzy double guitar in it, but there's nothing wrong with that because every band likes a bit of the, you know, the double guitar. Really, really good track. Even if you don't know where I'm gonna go. Strong bass line, great vocal. This Jackie Robinson's a terrific singer. Don't make their mistakes. Another very heavy track. The bass line and the drums really cranking it out on this, and a great track. Down and Out. This is a more slower song. This singer Jackie Robinson, his voice is more suited to the slower tracks more than the previous singer. I don't know why, but it just sounds, he seems to have really nailed it. The best track then comes Two Wrongs. This reminds me of The Answer. It's one of their sort of uplifting songs. Very, very good. End of the Line. Love the drums in this. Some delicate touches as well. And this drummer, McAvoy, is very good. Motions of Time. This is a totally different direction. It's got semi-acoustic, nice acoustic guitar work. It's a bit different, but it sounds great. Okay, for the first time in a ranking show, they've actually been ranked from their first album to the last album. This band have got better and better as they've gone along. And I think the change of personnel has really helped. I hope this is not the last we hear of Glyder, because I think they've got potential. But they haven't made anything since 2011. But they're still there as being about. So for this album, I give it a ranking of 9 out of 10. Okay, I mean, I've only been listening to these, couple of months. So it'll be interesting to see what I think of them in 12 months' time when I've listened to them more, and if there's anything else. I shall keep my eyes out though, because what I've heard so far, they're pretty good. I mean, all 4 albums are absolutely terrific, but they've just got better and better with time. Okay, next show we've got, of course, is the Retro Show, and this is a bit of a guilty pleasure for me. It's my top 10 ABBA singles, because obviously they've got their new album coming out. And talking of new albums, I have just got the new Yes album, and all being well, I'll be reviewing it a week on Friday. I will be giving it a listen over the weekend, so we already know that Friday week new album review will be the new Yes album, The Quest. Okay, we'll be back later for some ABBA, so get your dancing shoes on and all that, and we'll be ready for that one. So take care for now.